So how many folks in the audience knew Orville Yanke? Yep, number of hands. Yep. Yeah, Orville he was a farmer in the Medicine Hat area just down south of Dunmore, and was one of the real leaders in terms of the organization of Southern Alberta Conservation Association, and was also involved with the Southern Applied Research Association, which were the founding organizations for Farming Smarter. And when Orville passed away here, boy, it's probably maybe 10 years ago, maybe it's 8 to 10 years ago, when Orville passed away, his wife Judy wanted to establish, kind of by way of memorial, an award which recognized individuals who have made a significant contribution to, I think, farm organizations, but also to research, extension, I think advocacy, with respect to conservation, soils, cropping systems, research and extension in southern Alberta. And so Orville was a great friend of many of us, and exemplified those qualities in terms of his involvement, and also the so this award kind of recognizes people that have made a very significant contribution. And so, just by way of background, so I'm so honored to present this year's award to Ike Lanier, and Ike is a very deserving recipient. And I'm going to keep my words really short here, because Ike's got a rousing talk that he's going to give us here in a few minutes. But Ike and his wife Diana and son Rod, along with his wife Laura, they farm southeast of Lethbridge, just near Wilson Siding. And I suspect many of you, if you've been around in the no-till area, you may have even been on a tour at their farm over the years. Their operation is called Never Idle Farms, and that really aptly describes Ike and I think Rod, his son, who now really is more the owner and operator of the farm. I know it's getting increasingly difficult during harvest and seeding to track down Ike. He's likely to be off riding with his wife Diana, who just celebrated their 60th anniversary this last week. So, yeah. Ike was probably, if not the first in southern Alberta, really one of the first to adopt no-till in the early 1980s. And I know, having started my career with Monsanto, glyphosate, or Roundup herbicide, was $20 to $25 a liter during that period of time. So, yeah, and I know most of the no-till seeding equipment we had back then, you probably wanted to have a portable welder, not too far behind the unit. And so, I think Ike, one of the first machines they used when they went kind of exclusively to no-till was the hay buster. And unfortunately, we couldn't track down any of the photos of that particular unit with Ike in the field. But I was reading a number of the articles that in the popular press, and just describing some of the great work that Ike did. Over the years, Ike worked very, very closely with the research community in Lethbridge in particular, but really across the prairies. He both advised, but also had trials on their farm and demonstrations on their farm with scientists like Dr. Wayne Lindwall, who's spoken at the conference in the past, Henry Jansen, who's a world-renowned soil scientist based out of Lethbridge, and others like Ross McKenzie. And I had an opportunity with Ross to do a number of trials on the Lanier farm, and it was just always kind of keeping a close connection with the scientific community and with the extension community. Ike was one of the first farms that I visited when I came down to the Lethbridge area in 1989. And everyone told me, that, well, this is the place you have to go because this is the farm that's been no-tilling the longest. And I think it was probably 3 or 4 or 5 years at that time. And now it's been like over 30 years, in terms of on their farm, with a lot of the land hasn't seen a cultivator. So I can tell you that I think Ike was one of the co-founders of the Alberta Conservation Tillage Society, which was ACTS, and I think it even had a different name before it became ACTS. He also played a catalyst role in the formation of the Alberta Winter Wheat Commission, and working with guys like Bob Simmons. And I was thinking about Bob Ike the other day and some of the efforts that he put into the Winter Wheat Commission. Ike was a really strong advocate for cereal market choice, and paid the price for that. He was one of the 13 farmers that was jailed for delivering grain across the border in contravention of the some of our trade laws with respect to the Canadian Wheat Board, and served a bit of time. I think were you handcuffed, Ike, in that episode? But really. Fortunately, those charges were repealed when the Harper government finally rescinded or changed the Canadian Wheat Board Act, and we can thank Ike for hastening some of the market choices that we have today that we kind of take for granted, I think. Ike is still passionate about soils, and I look forward to your presentation, Ike, and hearing your thoughts. And I know he's visited with Henry Jansen and Wayne Lindwall about this, and in terms of not so much reflecting on where we've come from, that's part of it, but also maybe just some thoughts on where things might be going, and looking forward to that. But I'll have maybe Ike, if you want to come up, and please join me in congratulating Ike for this award. So this is the plaque that will be in the Farming Smarter office, and there is a small plaque that we have here for you, Ike. So. Congratulations. Yours is longer than mine. I think they want to get a photo here. So. Yeah.
Thank you for this honor. I accept it humbly and with gratitude on behalf of so many other farmers who have loved the land and have done what we could to look after it. I did not know Orville well, but well enough to know he cherished the soil he farmed and appreciated what soil means to civilization. I'd like to propose a toast to Orville and his family. The water in your glass is appropriate. Soil and water complement each other. To the bequest of Orville's family, for the sake of the soil. I've been farming for 60 years. I could never have imagined the farming landscape of today. Not long ago, I drove through stretches of southern Alberta dryland and was amazed and thrilled to see mile after mile after mile of untilled fields growing all kinds of different crops. And best of all, not 1 acre of fallow. That's a practice that was deemed essential for decades and decades, and now not really needed anymore. The land's been transformed completely and irreversibly. The winds that blew black with dust have cleared, The damage to the land has mellowed, and the wounds inflicted by past misuse are healing. I was fortunate to farm close to the federal research station in Lethbridge and the provincial station. Soil scientists succeeded in raising the awareness of a level of the continental problem of soil degradation. Agribusiness recognized the opportunity and provided system design. We all benefit and prosper. Today's young farmers are perhaps the first generation on the prairies that can think about improving the soil rather than just conserving it. We've seen a great profusion of new crops in recent years. Crop diversity will increase crop rotation, with each crop getting a different chemical regime to help slow down herbicide resistance. Using all our options in synchrony, tuned to the land of each farm. It's another example of farming smarter. The demise of the Canadian Wheat Board. It's opened our eyes to a lot of new opportunities, but also some responsibilities. How do we respond to shifting demands through market forces from consumers and policymakers who are disconnected from the land? And I've always been skeptical of that old adage that the customer is always right. I'd be happy with sometimes or often. I'm on a soapbox, so I'm going to offer my opinion on proposed carbon tax. As reduced tillage has expanded across Western Canada, and by 2008, farmers had already stored 9 million tons of carbon in the soils for future crop production. This is remarkable. The amount of carbon stored increases every year. So the question remains, should agriculture be taxed? But we cannot stand aside letting someone else shape our future. That is not an option. Farmers have earned a place at the policy table. We prairie farmers have learned a lot over the years, and we keep on learning. We have learned, for example, that increasing productivity alone will not solve our problems. We need also to look after the land for future use. Maybe we need to find ways of conveying what we learn to others concerned around the world about producing food, in our country and especially globally. Thank you for this honor and the plaque. That's wonderful.